Dying Light is one of those games that blew people away when it was released. It managed to add elements from Dead Island and Mirror's Edge and created its own formula that everybody loved. Dying Light and Techland managed to create a new formula when it came to the zombie genre. By this time, the formula had been sucked dry by other companies, and they would create this game at the perfect time, because this brought so much life back into the zombie genre. And today I want to talk about Dying Light and why it is the perfect zombie game. Now, even though Dying Light would not be a sequel to Dead Island, this game would be considered Techland's baby, and this baby would grow to reach millions of people and would introduce new people to the world that Techland had tried to build with Dead Island. Today I'm going to be trying a different format for my video. If you enjoy this style better, please let me know down in the comments section. I want to personally try to make my videos less drivel and more entertaining, so hopefully this works the way I want it to. Also, if you enjoy this video, please go subscribe to the channel and support me. I'm hoping to get to 3,000 subscribers by 2025, so anything you can do to help me reach that goal would be appreciated. But with all that out of the way, let's get into the video. So the last game that Techland would release before Dying Light would be Dead Island Riptide, and it was a mixed bag, as many people felt that the game should have been a DLC. And I guess this game was supposed to be a DLC, but it got so big that they decided to release the game as an entirely separate thing from the original Dead Island, and they sold it for 50 bucks. Like I said, this game was extremely mixed, but personally, I didn't mind it. I loved the game. I actually dragged my dad to the midnight release for this game, and I enjoyed every single fucking minute of it. And, hold on a second. Do they even still do midnight releases for games? Or am I just getting old? Huh. Well, anyways, Techland had to leave Deep Silver because both companies couldn't decide on where to go next with the franchise. Deep Silver wanted to bring the zombie virus to the USA, and Techland wanted to do another island, or a third world country. Techland would also want to have the game to have a more serious tone, and the two companies would split. This would lead Deep Silver to partnering up with Jaeger Development, and they would release a trailer for Dead Island 2, but it would never release, and Jaeger would quit, and Sumo Digital would take over, and that didn't work out either because then they quit too, and finally landed on Dam Buster Studios, who finally released Dead Island 2 in 2023. Meanwhile, Techland would partner up with Warner Brothers, and in 2014 they would release Dying Light to massive critical acclaim. And these guys would get a ton of awards for creating this amazing game with great graphics and fun gameplay. I remember when this game was released, I was actually in middle school, and I was supposed to go to the midnight release for the game, but my GameStop got closed because it was in the middle of a snowstorm. Sorry, it was 2015, and I couldn't go get the game because the snowstorm was massive, so I had to wait 2 days before I could play it. But I was so excited because this game does such a great job with its parkour mechanics, and it really makes you feel like Andy from The Office.
Parkour! Parkour! I'm right behind you, Andy! Come on! Yeah! Parkour.
Now, one of the things I will say is I think the story didn't really hold up, and the story has something to be desired for. I think the writing of the game is something that still remains to be a problem to this very day with Dying Light 2. But, like I mentioned earlier, when creating this game, Techland wanted to create Dying Light 2 with a more serious tone that really shows society struggling with poverty, and the zombie virus just adds to their list of problems they already have in the world of Haran. And one of the key things that makes this work really well is the music, and the audio director for this game, Paweł Blasek, sorry, he's Polish, I can't pronounce this, but he created the music using synthesizers, mimicking something that you would hear in the 1970s and 1980s horror, but he did it with more of a somber tone rather than a horror tone, and this guy nailed the soundtrack out of the park. Like, to me, it blows my mind how amazing this, like, it's something that I will always remember about this game is just the music. So the story starts off with an undercover agent working for the GRE. His name is Kyle Crane. He jumps out of a plane and lands into the city of Haran, where when he lands, he immediately gets bit by a zombie and gets his ass kicked. Jade Aldemir, who will end up saving him, loses her boyfriend in the process, and if you thought that she'd be upset about this or grieve, she actually gets over this pretty quickly. Crane gets brought back to the survivors' home base called the Tower, and it's here Kyle learns from Jade's younger brother Raheem how to do parkour. Crane then learns that the Tower is getting harassed by a group of bandits led by a warlord named Rice, who has been stealing and hoarding supplies of antizin drops. The GRE instructs Crane to meet Rice to confirm his identity, and to do that, he will have to comply with the GRE's orders and lie to the Tower, and they will send Crane out to go get various drops, and when he gets to those drops, instead of bringing the antizin to the Tower, he'll just burn the supplies. The Tower's leader, Brecken, will contact Rice to make a deal with him, and he tasks Crane with meeting him. Crane then confirms that Rice is the guy that they're looking for, and he'll have to do a bunch of unethical tasks for him, so Rice will give them antizin. After doing all of the things that Rice asks him to, Rice ends up betraying him and only gives him 5 vials. He would give him more if Crane decides to hand Jade over to Rice so that he can fight, or she can fight in his arena. Crane obviously says fucking no to this because that's human trafficking, but yeah, they try to find another way to get more antizin after this. Now, because the Tower is extremely desperate to get antizin, Brecken and his team will go out and try to get antizin, but his entire team will be wiped out, and Rice's men will end up beating Brecken to a pulp. And this is actually where we get that iconic meme of Brecken punching the TV. So I figured I'd just throw that in there. The next part is Crane will go up to the roof and he will see Raheem up there, and he has been drinking. And Raheem has this idea that he wants to plant a bomb inside of the abandoned tower so that they can blow up a volatile nest, so they will be able to get to the night drops faster. Crane, says, I'll see what I can do, and they kind of leave it at that. So this makes everybody extremely desperate to go after antizin, and Crane and Jade figure out that there is an old school where Rice is hiding his supplies at. They'll get inside of this facility and they don't find any antizin, but they find plastic explosives, and these plastic explosives will eventually get stolen by Raheem, and he will use or try to use these explosives to blow up the volatile's nest. But he ends up getting trapped inside of a train car, and he asks Crane to go blow it up. So Crane will go inside and blow up the tower. When he comes back out, though, he finds out that Raheem wasn't just injured, he was bitten, and he turns into a zombie, and Crane has to put him out of his misery. He contacts Brecken after this and breaks the news to him, and he asks Crane to come back to the tower. When he gets back to the tower, they start talking about Raheem being dead, and Jade will overhear this and she will run off. Meanwhile, Rice attacks Dr. Zare's trailer because Dr. Zare was working on a cure with Dr. Camden, like a research assistant of his. So, Rice ends up kidnapping him, and Crane will go and try to rescue him. Crane will attempt to rescue Dr. Zare, and Dr. Zare will tell him that he gave his research to Jade, who has now taken off to go after Dr. Camden so she can give him Dr. Zare's research. Rice will catch both of them and put Crane in his game stab Dr. Zare, and Crane will have to fight in his arena. Once Crane gets past all of the arena, Rice will come down and he will publish the file with the virus information on it. And at this point, Crane will pick up a machete and kill his guards and cut off Rice's hand. He'll go up and try to save Dr. Zare, but it is too late. Dr. Zare is dead and Crane will make his escape. So after this, Crane will head into the inner city section of Haran, where he will start looking for Jade and Dr. Zare's research, because of course he's in contact with Dr. Camden. He runs into this other group called the Saviors, and they show him that the Ministry is looking to firebomb Haran, and so now he has to set off a bunch of bombs in an apartment building. After doing this, he finds out that Rice's men have captured Jade, and Crane, starting to succumb to the virus, will have to go and find her at the museum. When he gets there, he finds out that not only he is succumbing to the virus, but Jade has been bitten as well. And Rice will give them an option to have to decide who gets the one vial of antacin that he tosses into them. And at this point, Jade will give Crane the antacin while Rice takes off with Dr. Zare's research. Jade will then turn into a zombie, in which Crane would have to kill Jade. And this pisses him off, and he kills off all of Rice's men, even his second in command, Tahir. So after this, Crane will have to climb to the top of a radio tower so that he can unjam the frequency so that he can contact the bombers and tell them to stop trying to bomb the city because there are still survivors in there. Once he does this, the bombers will fly off. And the next move that he makes from here is he goes to Dr. Camden with the tissue samples that Tahir had on his person. Once he gets there, Dr. Camden says that a cure is in reach. Crane just needs to go get the rest of Dr. Zare's research from Rice. But at this point, Rice had made a deal with the GRE to safely fly him out of the city if he gives him Dr. Zare's research. Crane will then climb to the top of this skyscraper, fight Rice, kill Rice, and then get Zare's research. He then takes this research back to Dr. Camden and basically tells the GRE to go fuck themselves. And that's where the story ends for the main side of the game. Next part is Dying Light: The Following, which was an expansion they made for this game. So, the DLC takes place after the main story. Crane will hear about a cult outside of Haran in the countryside, and he hears that they have figured out a way to cure the virus. Crane will then head out there and find out that it's a cult, not using antacin, but they are using a special elixir that they created themselves that gives them immunity to the virus. And if Crane agrees to help the cult, they will give him this elixir so he can bring it back to the people of Haran so that the people can be cured. Crane will discover that Rice's group has also come to the countryside to seek out the cure for themselves, and this will lead to them attacking the base of the cult. And before Crane can arrive, Rice's entire group is dead, leaving the question of how the hell did this happen? Well, this gets answered when later Crane learns that the leader of the cult, or the mother, is a sentient volatile, and their base is a military dam that is full of chemicals, and this was used to make the elixir. And instead of it being a cure, it slowly turned the person into a sentient volatile. During the day, the person who drinks the elixir retains their normal functions, but at night, they turn into an uncontrollable monster. The mother tells Crane that the only way to stop the infection is to purify Haran, and he will activate a bomb that will kill everybody. If Crane defies the mother, she will attack Crane and force him to drink some of the elixir. After defeating the mother, he takes what's left of the elixir, and Crane will stumble out of the dam, suffering continuous blackouts because of his exposure to the substance, and he finds himself outside of the quarantine zone into populated area civilian life. That wraps up the story of Dying Light in its entirety. So, next we're going to be talking about the release of the game, along with some of my final thoughts. So, Dying February 25th, 2015, and it was the best-selling game for the month of January. There were plans to release the game on the Xbox 360 and PS3, but those were cancelled due to hardware limitations. But this game sold really well and actually earned itself a couple of awards. The DLC released in February 9th, 2016, and that itself was also critically acclaimed, and probably one of the best expansions they could have done with the game. The only thing I wasn't a real big fan of was what they did to my boy Kyle Crane, because this character became so iconic amongst fans with this franchise. I mean, this character is so iconic. I mean, there's even rumors in Dying Light 2 that he's gonna make a return as a sentient volatile. So, I mean, this guy really made an impact on the Dying Light community. And another thing is, Dying Light 2. I didn't want to talk about this in this video, but I kind of have to since I brought that up. The game had a really rough launch. There were a lot of bugs and glitches that people were not a fan of, and of course they fixed those over time, so the game was absolutely perfect. And then they had to go and add a currency system, and everybody hated this, because not only was it targeted towards kids, especially with some of the content that they put out, but it was compared to the likes of like Call of Duty. Like, they would put out items where, say if you needed, a special skin or whatever, and it would be 1,000 coins. Well, they'd make you pay $9.99 for 950 coins, so you'd have to just buy another, pack just to be able to get the skin that you wanted. And that's something that Call of Duty does, and people felt that it was very unfair, especially because there's a lot of kids that play it, and it basically felt like they were targeting kids to steal their parents' credit cards and buy this currency for their skin. But back to Dying Light. I absolutely love this game. This game is a lot of fun. One of my favorite gameplay mechanics about Dying Light is the parkour. Personally, to me, I feel like this gives you limitless opportunities to get out of any situation, and it makes the game so much more fun to play. And the exploration for the game, oh my goodness, like, this makes it kind of goes hand in hand, but it makes it even better because there's just so many different places that you can explore. You can climb basically everything. I mean, there's a certain part of the map that's like this bridge, and part of the bridge is collapsed, but you can climb up the poles of the bridge, the little support beams, and when you get up there, there's a med center that is full of, like, dead military and a bunch of med packs. And one of the things that I used to do when I played the game was I would climb up to the bridge and I would collect those med packs, and then I would rest, come back the next day, and the med packs would pop up again, so you could just basically just farm for med packs, so you never had to worry about not having any med packs. And another thing that made this game have a life of its own after launch was the modded weapons. I mean, you kind of expect that this is going to happen with a game like this, because this happened with Dead Island. Dead Island, after they were done working on the game, was modded to... I can't even tell you how many people modded that game. There were modded guns, there were modded fucking little game modes that you could do. There was all kinds of stuff that people did, and it wasn't any different with this game, but it made this game so much more entertaining.
you could basically get a modded shotgun that would shoot a zombie across the map. And I know it's not as fun as the broom from Dying Light 2, but at a time, my feeble brain liked to shoot things across the map. Now, the only downside I could see to this game is playing by yourself. If you're like me and you don't have any friends and you don't have any online friends, it might make playing this game a little boring, because it is so much better having friends who can come along and have fun exploring and killing stuff and laughing, and it really does make the experience better. I did at one point have online friends that refused to touch zombie games with a 10-foot pole, and me being a zombie fan, I went out and found a group of people that I could play with, and it just made the game so much more enjoyable. If you're one of those people who don't have people to play with, though, it still can be fun, because Techland has made massive upgrades to the game since it came out, and it's added so much quality of life to it. But like I said, having friends to play with this game just makes the game more fun. Now, should you play in 2024? Of course, I recommend this game, because even though Dying Light 2 is out, this game still has such a huge active community. And plus, this game has the Night Hunter mode, where you play as a volatile and you have to hunt down a bunch of random players as they try to stop you. I'm not sure how this still plays, considering it's been a couple of years since I've fully played through this game with the multiplayer. And as long as they're not using mods, it should still be a thrilling experience, because the Night Hunter mode is a fun game mode itself. It's actually one of the highest requested additions that fans want Techland to add to Dying Light 2, so that's definitely gotta say something, you know what I mean? But besides the Night Hunter mode, the game itself is still so much fun, and I personally am an achievement hunter, and I have gotten all of the achievements in both Dying Light games, and it makes for a fun challenge. And if that's something you're not into, it still has a lot to offer on top of that. It's a huge fun zombie game, and if you're looking for your next zombie fix, Dying Light provides that in its own unique fashion, and it's the reason why Dying Light is as big of a franchise as it is today. Now, people even now are looking forward to next games, like the next game's installment, and I doubt that's going to be coming anytime soon, because they have a 5-year lifespan with Dying Light 2, but hopefully in the future we'll see something new. There's a lot of locations that you can build around the virus that creates unique stories, so I personally hope that Dying Light 3 comes sooner rather than later, because I just can't wait to see what Techland does next. But like I said, they have a 5-year roadmap that they're working on with Dying Light 2, so that's definitely gonna be a bit. Hopefully they've already started crafting some ideas on where they're going to go next and what stories they're going to bring to life. But again, that's all I really have to say about Dying Light. I just want to thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed this, let me know, because I would love to make some more Dying Light content. Also, go check out some of my other videos, because that's how the algorithm works, and if you enjoyed this content, maybe YouTube will recommend it to somebody else who does too. Again, don't forget to subscribe, and I just want to thank you guys again for watching, and have a good night.